The current issue with global supply chain issues is devastating for many sectors. The main sectors hit are retail, electronics, and manufacturing. The root cause of the problem was a perfect storm of events that converged to create an unprecedented demand for certain goods. The pandemic increased online shopping, while at the same time factories in China were closed due to the outbreak. This led to a shortage of goods and a corresponding increase in prices. The problem is compounded by the fact that many companies have been forced to cut costs in order to survive the pandemic, leading to lower quality products and longer delivery times. The result is a global economic slowdown, with losses in revenue across sectors. It's difficult to say how long this will continue, but it is clear that the global supply chain is in a state of flux. This video will provide a detailed insight into the current global supply chain issue. Now, let's get started. Significant challenges. The recent pandemic has affected every part of the value chain, from raw material sourcing to end customers. It's testing the commercial, operational, financial, and organizational resilience of the majority of companies across the globe. COVID-19 has highlighted risks and resiliency gaps for many organizations. As the effects of COVID-19 continue to impact the global supply chain, how should businesses seek to build resilience into their supply chains moving forward? Below are some of the major global supply chain issues. Supply chain disruption. The pandemic has disrupted traditional supply chains across the world. Businesses are struggling to source raw materials, components, and finished goods. This is having a knock-on effect on production levels and final product quality. Labor shortages. The pandemic has also led to widespread labor shortages. In particular, there is a shortage of workers in the manufacturing and transportation sectors. This is causing delays in the delivery of goods and services. Logistical challenges. The pandemic has created logistical challenges for businesses across the globe. Many countries have imposed travel restrictions which make it difficult to move goods around the world. Additionally, many businesses have closed off their warehouses and distribution centers, which further disrupts the flow of goods. Financial challenges. The pandemic has also led to financial challenges for businesses. Many businesses have been forced to close their doors, which has led to a loss of revenue. Additionally, the increase in raw material and transportation costs has put pressure on margins. Regulatory challenges. The pandemic has also created regulatory challenges for businesses. Many countries have introduced new regulations in an attempt to control the spread of the virus. These regulations can make it difficult for businesses to operate normally. Impact of Russian escalation against Ukraine. In recent months, there has been an escalation of tensions between Russia and Ukraine. This has led to a number of sanctions being imposed on Russia by the international community. These sanctions have had significant impacts on the global supply chain. Many businesses that operate in Russia have been forced to close their doors. This has led to a shortage of goods and services in the country. Additionally, the sanctions have made it difficult for businesses to source raw materials from Russia. As a result, many businesses have been forced to look for alternative suppliers. This has led to an increase in costs and delivery times. According to research firm Gartner, 6 key challenges will arise as a result of the conflict. First, there could be shortages of key materials due to the disruptions in the flow of goods between Russia and Ukraine. Second, material costs could increase as suppliers raise prices in response to the increased demand. Third, production capacity could be impacted, as factories are forced to close due to the shortage of materials. Fourth, demand volatility could cause problems for businesses that are unable to quickly adapt their production levels. Fifth, logistic routes and capacity constraints could make it difficult to move goods around the region. And finally, cybersecurity breaches could occur as hackers seek to exploit the disruptions caused by the conflict. Businesses that are aware of these risks can take steps to mitigate them and protect their supply chains from the fallout of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. In a recent report, Gartner warned that the world is facing severe shortages of hydrocarbon, critical minerals, metals, and energy. Prices for those items are expected to spike thanks to both the shortages and behaviors such as irrational buying and protectionism. This will impact manufacturing operations up and downstream as much as raw material mining. The research and consulting firm also warned that important logistic routes will be restricted, such as the Black Sea route and railroads and highways from east to west and vice versa. These shortages and disruptions will have a major impact on the global economy, so businesses need to be prepared. Leading causes. COVID-19. The COVID-19 pandemic has created logistical challenges for businesses across the globe. Many countries have imposed travel restrictions which make it difficult to move goods around the world. Additionally, many businesses have closed their warehouses and distribution centers, which further disrupts the flow of goods. The increase in raw material and transportation costs has put pressure on margins. The pandemic has also led to financial challenges for businesses. Many businesses have been forced to close their doors, which has led to a loss of revenue. The pandemic has also created regulatory challenges for businesses. Many countries have introduced new regulations in an attempt to control the spread of the virus. These regulations can make it difficult for businesses to operate normally. Russian escalation against Ukraine. The current supply chain crisis is caused by a number of factors, including the pandemic, the Russia-Ukraine conflict, and the resulting sanctions. Additionally, the crisis is exacerbated by the fact that many businesses have closed their doors, which has led to a loss of revenue. Furthermore, the increase in raw material and transportation costs has put pressure on margins. Finally, the current crisis is also due to the fact that many countries have introduced new regulations in an attempt to control the spread of the virus. These regulations can make it difficult for businesses to operate normally. As a result, the current supply chain crisis is a perfect storm of sorts, with a number of factors coming together to create a perfect storm. Businesses need to be aware of risks and take steps to protect their supply chains from the fallout of the current crisis. Overcoming the crisis. Due to these supply chain issues mentioned above, different organizations have experienced a loss of focus on their existing transformation mandates. The issues such as driver shortages, logistics providers, capacity issues, inflation, shipping delays, increased costs, labor shortages, etc. have dominated all the board discussions and surely demand attention. Furthermore, the operational needs have shifted their focus from large change projects to keeping the businesses running day to day and making sure that the needs of both staff and customers are immediately satisfied. The boards of organizations are now learning the right way to balance the oversight crisis response followed by strategic thinking that is much needed to get past these challenges. These transformation mandates, along with their successful implementation, are more likely to result in an organization's post-pandemic success. It's quite important to make sure that the operations are kept as resilient and flexible as possible. It's quite necessary for these projects to be carried out making sure that the operations are kept up to date and the unnecessary added costs are avoided. Moreover, the resource requirements can be experienced if the existing operations are not revolutionized. To overcome the global supply chain issues, the management should ensure that they have created a scalable crisis management process, along with a certainty that they have the needed leadership capability in place. Moreover, it's recommended for organizations to keep a record of their experiences and learnings throughout the global supply chain crisis. In this way, they will be able to balance their short and long-term priorities. Following are a few things companies can do as they face supply chain challenges. They can make the operations flexible and resilient. Organizations should utilize technology effectively to help reduce operating costs, providing more visibility and diversifying the way the customer's needs are met. These companies must have the capability to adapt to digital operations and drive actionable improvements from their data. Furthermore, it's important that the fleet management and supply chain networks are made responsive so that increasing customer requirements are satisfied. Collaborations and supplier partnerships can also be made. Plus, ongoing risk monitoring is needed to de-risk the supply chain. That's all there is for today. Leave us a comment with your thoughts on the current supply chain issues. Please leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the video. Also, click the notification bell to never miss our videos. Stay tuned until the next video. See you soon.